What up, gamers? Fancier here, and welcome to my reaction to why Blue's Clues is a fantasy inside Law and Order theory by Alex Bale. So yeah, it's been a while since I watched one of his videos, and he released this around a month ago, and now I'm just getting to it. And yeah, with this video here being made, I'm just slowly getting back into the reaction video side of things when it comes to like other content creators. But yeah, it'll be right now just every now and then. I do want to make, these type of videos more, I guess, have more of a presence later on in this channel, but right now I still got like other games that I want to play and finish up. But yeah, when it comes to my knowledge of these two shows over here, I mean, Blue's Clues, I've watched that when I was like 5, and that's all my like knowledge of that show comes from right now. And Law and Order, I've never watched it, but I think it's a TV show from like what I've heard of maybe, and I'm guessing it's kind of like a lawyer TV show, like a Better Call Saul type thing. Maybe less, I guess, criminal, because I know with Saul he can be kind of like shady sometimes. Um, but yeah, I'm guessing it's that. And if I had to guess really quick, a little mini theory from me on like how they're connected, I want to guess that maybe it's the whole like maybe detective side of things, because you want to make sure we get the truth like out there, I guess, in these courts and stuff, if that's what Law and Order means. But yeah, I'm guessing like it's like a I guess like a court show, like a judge, one of those things. The Blues Clues, maybe the more detective side of things. That's what I'm guessing. That's like my little mini theory on that. Anyway, guys, enough of my little opening rambling here. Let's get to it, man. So here we go. All right. Jeez. All right. I mean, Alex always impresses me. He even got the whole like clothing going on with Steve. I know there's been like multiple hosts of the show. Like I think they even made their own like, No Way Home, like Spider-Man No Way Home type movie.
Hi there! Blue's Clues is an educational
Yeah,
children's
there he is.
TV
That's the one I watched when I was a kid.
show about a man named Steve who lives in a magical world where he spends his day talking to inanimate objects, jumping through picture frames, and trying to find clues to help understand his magical blue dog.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm gonna guess would be the connection to Law and Order, because yeah, I'm sure they want to find out the truth to like, serve justice properly.
Law and Order is a gritty, realistic police procedural slash legal drama that involves New
Oh,
York City
okay.
homicide detectives trying to solve murders and prosecute criminals.
Okay. So yeah, like I feel like I've heard about this show before, just like in title only, but like I tried to guess like what it might be. So it's a police investigation show. Okay, I can see it more there now. I thought maybe it will be more like of like a lawyer show, like I said with Better Call Saul, like that type of thing. But no, it's a police investigation show. Okay, I can definitely see like a connection there that he can try to make.
These two shows are very different. You could not find two shows more polar opposite than Blue's Clues and Law and Order.
I mean, when it comes to tone, maybe because like one is for kids, one is for adults, but they're both like detective shows in a sense. He's got to write everything down in his handy dandy notebook with Blue's Clues, and you know they pretty much do the same thing in what I'm guessing in Law and Order, but they don't need to like exaggerate everything to make kids understand
And yet,
because they're
despite
talking to
this,
adults.
not only do I believe that these two shows exist in the same universe, but
What?
I'm also going to be proving that the entire Blue's Clues show is actually just a fantasy inside of the mind of a single Law and Order side character. Yes, I am being serious. I
What?
know that sounds crazy, but just stick
Dude, oh look, there's the second host over here. That's the second guy, right? See, we got Steve over here. Ooh,
with
what is
me,
the side
because
character?
I'm pretty sure that I have discovered a 29-year-old secret that has never been talked about before today. Get ready, because this is the Blue's Clues Law and Order theory.
All right, here we go, man. Starring Steve. So is Steve gonna be the main one? Oh, Joe. I know there's a third one, and Josh. Yeah, I know. Those three there. They made like their own like Spider-Man No Way Home type movie, I think. Dream Theory.
By far, the most common type of fan theory is the dream theory. The idea that
Okay.
everything happening in a story is actually all just inside of a character's head, whether
You
they're
know, yeah, that oh, I was about to say this, dude. I was about to say this. Like when he mentioned that, I just instantly thought about this here, where like Ash was like in a coma, and that all of his adventures was like in a dream. I was about to just say this, man. Like that's kind of like weird because like now that I think about it, now that he mentioned it, like yeah, I guess that is true. Like a lot of fan theories, like they usually have dreams sometimes, and this was the first one that I thought about.
stuck in a coma, or they're dreaming, or hallucinating, or they're actually dead. Pretty much every piece of
Oh
media
Jesus, is that
has
a real
some
thumbnail of
kind
Ed
of
and Eddie?
dream theory. And
That's
it's sort of
interesting.
the
Like a
lazy,
real
low
video.
hanging fruit of fan theories. You can just apply it to literally anything, and usually there's never actually any evidence besides, whoa, this show is so crazy and unrealistic, that must mean it's a dream! Ah! And surprisingly, the show that seems to have the most of these types of fan theories is Blue's Clues. You got
Really?
Steve is actually schizophrenic, Steve is actually in a mental asylum, Steve is actually a drug addict, Steve is actually in prison, Steve is actually a murderer who killed his parents. Oh my
I
god.
just
Even
remember something. I don't remember if this was like a Meats Canyon video. I don't. I think he made a video that is like Blue's Clues. Let me check. I kind of forgot. Yeah, so it is a Meats Canyon video. So I can't find the original video of his. So instead, I got these two videos here as a representation of like what it looks like. But yeah, I remember watching this video of his, and the contents of it pretty much reminds me of like what Alex just said right now. Right before this cuts here. So I'm guessing he'll be kind of like going off that where it's pretty much in his head and that he's crazy and stuff. Or at least, that's just what he's talking about when it comes to like online internet stuff. But I mean, he did say that it might be a fantasy inside a like a side character. So I'm guessing he's also going to be kind of crazy too. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, if you can find the original video of this, and also if you don't mind, like I guess dark themes to a story, definitely check out Meat Canyon's video of Blue's Clues. It's kind of like interesting to me at least. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because Alex was talking about it, and that's what came up to my mind. Kind of like when he was talking about the whole dream theory here, like with Ash. That was like the first thing that came up to my mind. Anyway, let's go and resume.
I made a parody of these theories back in 2017.
So
Oh
yeah, it's
wow.
a pretty basic, normal kid show. Steve,
Jeez,
a
young
30-year-old
young
schizophrenic who
Alex.
killed his parents, pretends to be a kid.
That was before I dedicated my life to making fan theories about kid shows. And look, I understand the appeal of these types of theories. It's fun to take something innocent from your childhood and give it a dark, edgy plot twist. That's kind of literally my job right now. But
That is true.
why are there so many of these
That's why like
theories
I began
about
watching,
specific
I guess reacting to his videos, especially the mini theories. That's what I was mainly watching for. Like that's why I watched it back in October because it can get kind of dark
Blues
and
Clues?
twisty.
Well, I think it's because everything about this show has always felt fake. Steve is the only real person in
Even
this
his walk,
world.
dude.
He looks like a young adult, but he
That's
acts
his
like a
fake walk.
child. And he lives alone in a house where he spends his day jumping into picture frames or talking to unseen
Oh shoot,
voices or
I forgot
inanimate
about that.
objects. It just kind
That's
of
some Mario
sounds
stuff.
like I'm describing someone who is experiencing some kind of false reality. Even the way Steve moves around is
Yeah.
strange. He never actually leaves the room, he just kind of pretends to walk in place while this fantasy world moves around him.
Come on.
So funny to like
Obviously,
see
that was
this
more
back
of a
then.
filming limitation, but it still adds to this feeling of fakeness. But other than these surface level weird vibes the show gives off, there's never actually been any strong evidence to prove one of these theories. And believe me, I and others have looked. It has been 28 years since this show first came out. You'd think if there was actually some kind of smoking gun here, we would have found it by now. But what if that's because we've all been looking in the wrong place?
Law and Order
So,
comes in.
the other day, I stumbled upon an
What?
interesting
Oh no! I didn't even realize that was his real name, Steve Burns. Like he's playing as himself. I didn't even know that. So he's also in Law and Order. I didn't even know that too. So I think that's where he's gonna come in. Oh shoot, that's gonna be so weird. I've never seen him in other like shows or movies.
piece
Okay.
of Blue's Clues trivia. A year after Steve Burns filmed the Blue's Clues pilot, he had a small role in an episode of Law
Oh
and
no.
Order. And I thought the idea of seeing Steve from Blue's Clues in a gritty, realistic cop show was kind of funny,
Yeah, me
so I
too.
decided to track down the 1995 episode titled Cruel and Unusual. Just a heads up, this episode deals with some pretty serious subject matter,
Oh
so
my.
please proceed with caution.
I'm fine with that.
In this episode, Steve Burns plays a kid with
Oh
autism
no.
named Kevin Jeffries.
Good morning, how are you?
Great.
What time is it?
10:15.
No, it's 10:18.
We learn that
Ooh.
Kevin has trouble communicating with others and often harms himself. So his parents send him to live in a children's behavioral clinic.
Just what was the behavioral clinic doing for him?
When Kevin was 10,
This is
he
so
started to
interesting.
hurt
Like,
himself.
I mean,
We
just
didn't
like to
know
see
what
the
to
actor
do.
in a
We
different
couldn't keep
like
Kevin
role.
here. We had to send him away.
Like
We
it's
later
not
find out
what
that
I'm
the
used to.
doctors at this clinic were
Like, he can actually
horribly
act.
mistreating him by giving him intense electroshock therapy and forcing him to wear a sensory deprivation helmet for days.
He kept Kathy in this helmet for 3 straight days. This helmet cut off.
And like maybe that's gonna, I guess for me, like in a way, kind of help me like believe that this might be real, just because I'm used to the Steve in Blue's Clues. So if I see him in any other like show or movie, like I'm just gonna see Steve. Like I'm not gonna see like the other character that he's playing as.
Off the blood supply to our daughter's brain.
The episode starts with Kevin after he's escaped from the facility, but tragically he gets arrested and later succumbs to the injuries sustained
And now that he's
from his
making like
abuse
this kind of
and
connection, maybe.
dies.
I don't know, Mike. I think the kid's
But he said
dead.
he dies from a blood clot.
Arrested and later succumbs to the injuries sustained from his abuse and dies.
I don't know, Mike.
Yeah, from his helmet.
I think the kid's dead.
And the rest of the episode follows the detectives investigating his death. So yeah, this is a very sad and serious episode, and it deals with some real systemic
very different
issues
from
that
Blue's
are
Clues.
still a problem today. And like I was saying, this show is clearly very, very different than
Yeah.
Blue's Clues. But what I find interesting about this is that for years, people have been trying to prove that Steve is actually in prison or a mental facility, and now we have this piece of media where we see Steve's actor in that exact position, and as far as I'm aware, no one's ever really talked about this. I mean, sure, Kevin's not schizophrenic, he has autism, but seeing as how he was being abused and put into sensory deprivation for days where he couldn't hear or see anything, you can kind of imagine that anyone in that position might try to escape to some kind of fantasy inside
Yeah, I
their
can see
head.
that.
So yeah, I thought this was an interesting coincidence, but at the end of the day,
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, like the thing is, like when I saw that credits, like he just plays as himself. Like I don't know if that's supposed to be like I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's kind of like you're putting your real self into the show, but then you got this fake character. Because I'm gonna guess that Alex is trying to say that you know that whole thing was inside that Law and Order character's mind, but then like he's playing as himself. It's kind of weird. It's kind of like you know. I don't know how to
that's
explain it.
kind of all it was. Like, obviously, just because the same actor shows
Yeah.
up in two different
Yeah, like here, like he's playing as himself. Like I don't think he's supposed to be like his own like, lore heavy character. I just think he's just supposed to be himself if he's like credited like that. But then here he plays a different character, you know? But like if that's in his mind, then like he's kind of like seeing himself like he's trying to play as like I guess a real actor, like a real person.
shows
I don't know.
doesn't mean
I don't know if
they're
that's confusing for
actually
you guys.
connected. But then I took a closer look.
Like it'll make sense if like, Steve was playing a fictional character like that he just didn't like name himself after. Like he's not playing as himself is what I'm trying to say.
This episode.
Cuz Blue's Clues is mainly just a show for kids like maybe trying to educate them or something.
And I started to notice more and more weird similarities between Kevin and Steve.
Or I guess you know what? Maybe just to make it sense for me, I'm just gonna treat Steve over here as like, I guess a fictional Steve and stuff. Like not like him trying to be, acting like a character in this show. I'm just gonna treat it like that.
At first, it just
But I'm
started
not sure if that
with
makes any
some
sense, it's
little
just-
things. We are told by Kevin's parents that he was learning to draw.
Thanks to him.
It just feels weird
Kevin
of
was
like
learning to
maybe a
draw.
fictional character.
And in every episode of Blue's
Oh my
Clues,
gosh, he's learning to draw here. It's gonna make that connection. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah, I'm just gonna treat him as like a fictional character in his own world and not like him trying to insert himself into this show like the real actor.
Steve draws in his handy
For me, that makes it more
notebook.
digestible
Our
for me.
handy dandy
Notebook.
notebook. Let's draw a rectangle, and there, cheese.
Okay.
But so what? Lots of
Yeah,
kids
that's one.
like to draw. But we are also told that when Kevin harmed himself, he was strapped to a chair.
No,
Put them in a chair.
the chair. Oh no. That one chair that he always sits on.
And then we hold them there using soft cuffs.
And in every episode of Blue's Clues, Steve spends a lot of time
Alright, yeah,
in his
that's the one I
thinking
thought
chair.
about.
We're ready to sit in our.
Thinking chair.
Now that we're in our thinking chair.
Oh my
let's
gosh, dude.
think.
And then, when Kevin escaped the facility, he kept asking people what time it was.
What time is it? 10:15. What time?
How you doing today?
I don't remember a
What time?
connection
Now,
for
it is
this,
common
maybe.
for some people with autism
like Blue's
to
Clues.
rely on specific schedules or routines, but
Mm.
what time it is also
Oh.
really important in Blue's Clues.
I forgot about that
What time is
character.
What time is it now?
Steve has a cleanup time,
We just had cleanup time.
a nap time.
It's Blue's nap time.
Now it's time for so
Dang.
long. There's a talking clock. And most of all, every day, Steve has mail time.
All right. Well, yeah, you definitely know now that he's on a schedule. That mail time, definitely. But yeah, like, I don't know much about, when it comes to like, I guess autism and like if they do like follow a schedule like that. But if that's true, then I feel like this is a pretty strong piece of evidence, I would say. It's really strong.
So yeah, there's some weird
Yeah, that one.
similarities here.
I like
but
that.
nothing actually concrete. I didn't really start to take any of this seriously.
I do like that third
until
one.
I realized
Just because it feels very
after
specific.
Kevin escaped, we are told that he went to a movie theater. And guess what he did in the theater?
Movie started at 10. He was out of here by 10 after 10. Got out of his seat, walked into the screen.
Kevin got out of his seat
Dude, I'm sorry if I'm like coughing a lot. It's just I'm also like a little sick from like maybe recording too much. But dude, he's walking into the screen, and pretty much him like going to the paintings. Dang, this is so crazy. There's so many like just of these coincidences that like connect. Wow, just from that one like one small role that he played. It's really cool like connection that he's making.
and try to walk into the screen. Doesn't that sound exactly
Yeah.
like Steve Blueskadoing into a picture?
Blues good do. We can too.
Oh man.
Walked into the screen.
This kind of feels like more than a coincidence. So this is when I first started to consider, is it really possible that Kevin Jeffries from Law & Order is the real Steve and Blue's Clues is all a fantasy he created to escape
dude, Alex
his
here is cooking.
abusive reality?
Jeez.
Okay, I know you're not convinced yet.
I mean,
and
I'm
to be honest,
convinced.
neither was I.
Because like I would say those were like especially that time thing because that would just feel so specific. And now just that whole like walking to the screen thing. Like yeah, it just feels strong to me.
But don't worry, we
Like
are
already.
just getting started. Kevin's behavioral clinic is in New York City, and the one-time characters actually leave the Blue's Clues fantasy world and go to the real world.
Oh,
they
this was the
end up
one.
in New York.
Blue's Clues
Oh,
in
wow.
New York City.
Okay, that's interesting because, he did state that, it's a fantasy, but then because they went outside of that world, now they're in New York, just like in Law and Order. Wow. But yeah, this was the movie that I was talking about where like they had their own like Spider-Man No Way Home thing where like all the hosts were there, I think.
This is epic.
Also, in the very first episode of Blue's Clues, we can see a newspaper from the New York Times inside of Steve's house,
Oh,
strongly
wow.
implying that's actually where he lives. We can also see objects from Blue's Clues.
Dang, he went for the
in
newspapers,
Kevin's
too.
life. In Kevin's parents' house, we see a
That's like some
very
Mrs.
large
Puff
salt
stuff
and
going
pepper
on.
shaker, just like Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hi, Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And
Wait,
in
I
the
need to see that
clinic,
again.
we can see
I don't know
a
about that one.
New York City.
Hold on, I need to see that again.
Kevin's life. In Kevin's parents' house, we see a very large
Oh,
salt
in his house.
and pepper shaker, just
Okay,
like
I can maybe see that. I didn't know what he said over there at first, but if it's in his house, then maybe I can see him like, you know, from time to time, whenever he goes to the kitchen, he would just like maybe see these two as like characters in his head.
Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hi, Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And in the clinic, we can see a red bucket, just like Steve's friend, Bale.
Hello,
Oh my.
Hi, Steve.
Also, when Steve left the show to go to college, he left on a blue bus. And when Kevin escaped the clinic, in his pocket he had a schedule for the Greyhound,
Here you go.
Oh,
Amtrak
another blue
schedule,
bus.
Greyhound schedules.
which is also a blue
this is crazy.
bus. Alright, those are some more interesting connections, but you're probably still not completely sold yet, right?
Yeah, but maybe not complete. I'm not like completely sold, but I do think those are like strong pieces of evidence in my opinion.
Well, check this out. When Steve eventually left the show to go to college, he was replaced by his younger brother Joe,
Oh, hi.
Oh, I didn't even know that was
It's
the
me,
younger brother.
Steve's brother, Joe.
and later, Joe got replaced by their cousin Josh.
Hi, it's
A
me,
cousin.
Josh.
And not
I didn't even know they were like
does
family.
Kevin also have a younger brother, but at the clinic, there is a nurse named Joe
What's your name? Joe Garvey. Joe Garvey, you're under
Oh
arrest
my
for assault.
gosh.
and an occupational therapist named Josh.
Take a look at the amended complaint. An occupational therapist, Josh Bingham, was
So like, I guess they're also, I guess those characters are also just in his head, but they look more different and younger.
dropped.
I think that Kevin is taking aspects from his real life, like
Yeah.
the objects or the names of the people working at the clinic,
Dang,
and
dude.
applying them to his fantasy.
I don't know much about the names though, just because with those names, they can be like in any show. It can be, I don't know, they just don't feel specific, man. Because like Josh and Joe, they just feel like common names. Like the thing is, if the actor was like in another show, I feel like you can also make the same argument. Like there's another Josh and Joe here.
So, this one is less impressive, but the name
Yeah,
Kevin
less impressive.
is also the name of the Blues Clues UK host.
Hello,
Oh, wow.
It's me, Kevin.
Also, check this out.
I didn't even know they had a different host in the UK.
Kevin's behavioral clinic has the same initials as Blues Clues. Huh?
Oh my.
That one's also not that impressive, I know.
No, yeah, I would say the naming stuff, like with the Josh and Joe, and I guess Blue's Clues, not that impressive, but it's just, I guess, funny to make a connection of. I would say.
But wait. If this theory is true, and all of this is just inside of Kevin's head, then why does the main character of his fantasy keep changing?
Hi, come on in.
Hi, come on in. Hi, come on in.
Well,
I mean, in real life, it's they got to get someone probably like new and young, and they can't like do it forever, or maybe they want to do like, go do other things.
at first I thought
We'll see what Alex says here.
maybe Joe and Josh could actually just be from two different kids who took Kevin's spot in the clinic after he died. But the
Oh.
clinic gets shut down at the end of the episode.
You made them close the clinic.
So they would all have to be from Kevin. But why? Well, we're told that Kevin has tried to escape from the clinic before.
Well, we called the police this morning as soon as the clinic told us that Kevin ran away. He's done this before.
So what if every time a host leaves Blue's Clues, it's actually Kevin trying to escape the clinic, and when he's inevitably put back inside,
He's done this before.
his fantasy resets with a new Blue's Clues host.
Hi, come on in.
Hi, come on
okay.
in. Hi, come on in.
Okay, so there is a surprising amount of connections here. You can't deny that. But it still kind of feels like we're missing something. Like, I can see why Kevin would imagine a fun, colorful world to escape his abuse, but why is Kevin's fantasy so focused on playing a scavenger hunt game with a blue dog? As far as I can
That is
tell,
true.
there's-
So far, no mentions of a blue dog, and he is pretty much like the main. I would say more You know, if he's the main character, he would be like the other main character too. Like they're kind of like on a similar level where they're very much like iconic to the show. Well, I guess maybe more on Blue just because he's always been there. Steve like comes and goes.
There's nothing similar to that in this episode. Well, I think to answer this, we need to take
Oh,
a
you know what?
closer
I'm also just reminded of that Meets Canyon video. But there was something there where like maybe they don't need a blue dog, I guess, but there was at least a dog there.
look at what Blue's Clues actually is.
We're gonna play
At
Blue's
the
Clues.
beginning of the Law and Order episode, Kevin's doctor explained to the detectives why Kevin harmed himself.
It's pretty common with some autistic children. It's frustration because of their inability to communicate.
It's frustrations because of his inability to communicate. Now, autism is a spectrum, and it's a lot more complicated and nuanced than the way TV shows like this tend to portray it. But it is true that some
Yeah,
people with
I don't know much about these,
autism have
so I
varying
can't really say
levels
much
of
about it.
difficulty communicating.
I'll just take
And
it
I
as
think
it
this
goes.
becomes interesting when we take a look at what Blue's Clues actually is.
Well, what story should we tell?
Great idea. We'll play Blue's Clues to figure out what story Blue wants us to tell.
It's a game where you
Oh.
try to understand Blue, a character who has an inability to communicate. This is
I don't remember that. But yeah, like I said, I watched it when I was 5, but I didn't know it was like a story that Blue's trying to tell.
literally the entire premise of the show. So I think that this is telling us that Blue represents the side of Kevin who struggles to communicate with others.
I'm just wondering why it's a blue dog though.
Okay, but where did the idea for a blue dog
Yeah.
come from?
Just like I
Like I
said.
said, I couldn't find any references to dogs in this episode. The closest visual was this vaguely blue drawing in Kevin's room that I can't really make out, or this teddy bear that kind of had a similar pattern to Blue.
I don't know.
but
Like when
nothing-
I saw the background here, I feel like there has been a lot of blue. Like even that doctor and that one other guy in a suit. Like yeah, I think this guy over here, he had like a blue, I guess thing. Like maybe just seeing, many instances of blue. Maybe that's where he got the color from, but I'm not sure where the dog comes from.
really concrete, which is weird because Blue is such a major part of this fantasy.
Yeah.
But then I realized it doesn't matter if we can't find a direct connection because in Blue's Clues, Steve didn't actually adopt Blue. In a flashback episode of Blue's
Oh.
Clues, we learned that when Steve was younger, he read a book about a blue dog,
It's a book. A book
It's
about
young Steve.
a puppy.
which caused Blue to magically come to life. And I think this is also probably what happened with Kevin. We see that the Children's Behavioral Clinic is full of what we can reasonably assume are children's books. Maybe there's a book in here that also gave
There are some
Kevin
blue books
the
here.
idea for a blue dog, just like Steve.
But
In
it's hard
fact,
to like
this idea of a
it's hard to try to read those books though, like on the on the side, the title. I can't really read that, even though he like zoomed it in.
children's book giving Kevin ideas for his fantasy is exactly what we see at the start of the Blue's Clues intro.
Hi, it's me, Steve.
Every single episode of Blue's Clues starts with a stack of children's books in the real world, before going inside of a book called Blue's Clues where the episode takes place. The show literally tells us every episode that Steve's world is fake and comes from a book. And I think this real world full of children's books is actually the Law and Order Behavioral Clinic. And if this is true, that also means that there's probably a book literally called Blue's Clues in the clinic that Kevin is basing his fantasy off.
It's gotta be a
So
yellow book,
even
I
if
guess.
we never see a blue dog or even hear the name Steve in this Law and Order episode, Kevin still could have gotten all of those ideas from an existing Blue's Clues book in the clinic.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that doesn't really fit
I
with
can
this
see that.
idea is mail time.
Hello, mailbox.
Oh yeah. Even though there is like a schedule that he makes importance of. But what about the mail?
Steve,
have I got a letter for you.
Sure, maybe the talking purple mailbox was just something from the book, but there's no way Steve watching videos of kids in the real world would be something in a children's book.
Look, it's a letter from our
That
friends.
is true.
Hi, Steve. This is where we
How does that
play
work?
with our blocks. This goes that way.
So, what are these videos? Well, the behavioral clinic is full of other children.
You want to see what a good day is for some of these kids?
So,
Oh,
I
building
think
blocks.
these videos are Kevin's perception of the other kids. There is just
I'm just wondering about the mail though. Like, why does it have to be in the mail?
undeniable amount of connections and similarities between this episode and this show. It just really feels like Blue's Clues is all a fantasy inside of Kevin Jeffries' head. But at this point, you're probably wondering, could any of this actually be intentional?
I mean, in my opinion, even like before, like I guess because I didn't know much about Law and Order. Like, yeah, maybe more now, but like I still don't think it's intentional. Is any of this even real?
Like, if this theory is true, does that mean that the entire plot of Blue's Clues was actually secretly based on this one random episode of Law and Order?
I mean, I don't think so. I mean, if it is really just like a random episode, or like, he just had a minor role in it, like, just like a one-time thing. I mean, I don't think so, but maybe it is supposed to be small if it's like, I guess like if Steve here had, was part of the writing process, and then maybe, I don't know, his talks with the writers of the show, like maybe he wanted to make it like a secret thing. I can maybe see it if it's like that, if he talked about that, but I haven't heard anything about that.
I'll admit, that seems unlikely, especially since this episode came out a year after the Blue's Clues pilot was filmed.
Oh
I
wow.
think it's
Yeah,
a
I would say that's a bit too early to like maybe write a story like that to make connections with.
lot more likely that if this was intentional, then it was probably just the Law and Order creators deciding to secretly connect these two shows on their own. Maybe just because they thought it would be funny, I don't know. Or maybe
Yeah, so hold on, let me go back to that one subtitle that he said. Maybe Steve Burns told him about the plot of the pilot and they decided to incorporate it. Yeah, like if Steve, like the real life Steve, if he did had like a hand with like, the writing of that one episode, I can maybe see it. But yeah, other than that, I don't think they're that connected, like realistically. But it is fun to make the connections, from like what Alex is making.
or maybe it's some weird mixture of both, because even
The thing is, I don't
years
even know like Steve's, I guess, status at that time because I don't know if he's like like a smaller time, I guess, person or actor, or I don't know if he had you know if he's at that status to even like influence the writing of the story for like maybe a one time character in Law and Order. Unless maybe he's like good friends with the writer, then maybe they might have like talked with each other. But yeah, if there's something like that, I can maybe see it.
after this episode came out, Blue's Clues does still seem to weirdly line up with it. I honestly don't know. And to be fair, this could all still just be a bunch of weird coincidences and that's it. But regardless of the creator's intent, it still works,
It still
makes
works in my
talking
opinion.
about Blue's Clues a lot more interesting.
I mean, with like a lot of other theories, like even if it's not intentional, it still works. It's still like at least fun to talk about.
And at the end of the day, I think that's kind of the point of all of these edgy Blue's Clues fan theories.
Oh yeah, I agree. I guess with any theory at all, like even with the game theory stuff, like it's just fun to like just make theories of. Like I don't usually take them like at face value. Like of course there's gonna be some like holes in the theories, but it's still fun to like just discuss and think about in general.
And this was
I'm more about the fun of
originally
it.
where
Like especially with this video here, it is just a fun video more than I guess a factual video.
I planned on ending this video.
And that's with like any
But there
theories.
was still one lingering question that was bothering me. If Blue's Clues really is just inside of Kevin Jeffries' head, then what about when Kevin died, at the beginning of the episode. I mean, I guess we can just say that the entire Blue's Clues timeline takes place before Kevin's death, and if the show ever gets canceled, then we can just say that that is when Kevin died and the fantasy ended. But
Okay.
what if I told you we've already seen Kevin's death inside
What?
of Blue's Clues? So, I recently watched the new Blue's Clues movie from
Yeah, there he is right there.
2022 called Blue's Big City Adventure.
He's
And
older now.
not only did I find even more
I remember too,
similarities
like the real life Steve. Like, didn't he also like make a random video where like he's just talking to a camera, and that's he's like kind of like talking to you as like the Blue's Clues Steve, and then throughout the entire video he's just like nodding like this, like, yeah, tell me about your day. Yeah, I see. I remember that. Yeah, that was cool to see.
between this movie and the show, but I believe that this movie is showing us the day that Kevin died and the true end of the Blue's Clues timeline.
Okay.
So, this movie is about Josh, the newest host of Blue's Clues, going on a big adventure to audition for a Broadway musical in New York City.
Blue, we are definitely not in storybook world anymore.
It's kind of what you'd expect out of a modern day Blue's Clues movie. He goes on a journey to the real world and gets lost. There's lots of wacky hijinks, but in the end, he finds his way and gets the part.
We want you to be the star of our Broadway show.
Yes, of course. Yes. What?
But if you watch this movie with this theory in mind, so many things take on a whole new meaning. The first thing that immediately
I wish I
caught me
kind of
off
watched this
guard
movie in a
was
way
the
just because it
opening
just looks
song.
like an HD Blue's Clues.
This song is about starting the day, and Josh keeps saying, "Good morning."
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Blue.
And literally, the first thing we hear Kevin Jeffries say is, "Good morning,"
So is Donovan. Good morning, how are you?
despite it clearly being night. We also hear this line in Josh's song.
This life is just like a beautiful dream.
This life is just like a beautiful dream. Interesting. And while Josh sings,
What does that
the
mean?
other
Oh,
characters
the
keep
dream
telling
thing.
him to wake up.
Wake up. Wake up.
Oh yeah, going back to the whole dream theory thing.
Right away, this movie
Forgot about that for a
feels
second.
different. Like it's trying to draw attention to the fact that this world is just Kevin's fantasy, and it's time for him to leave it. Josh leaves his fantasy world to go to the audition in New York, just like how Kevin escapes the clinic at the start of the episode. And just like Kevin, Josh immediately seems very disoriented by the outside world. Until, of course, his fantasy starts to take over to protect him from reality.
That's an interesting like comparison. Oh my gosh.
But what's interesting about this movie is that for the very first time ever, we get these little glimpses of Blue's Clues from other people's perspectives.
Don't you think so, Madam Mustard? Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Lovely to meet you.
Oh man, I need to see this movie.
Am I glad to see
No way. Even the salt and pepper, he's like talking to it, just like, what he might do in his house with that giant salt and pepper. Oh wow. Dude, I need to see this movie. I never realized just how like, when it comes to him, like there's like different worlds. There's the fantasy world and then the real world. Dang, if I feel like if I watched this first, I feel like I could have like maybe seen an easier connection. Because yeah, this one here is also really interesting too.
you. Oh my God.
Like I said, this movie feels different.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, it does feel different. I feel like this movie, just like the way she like just used that salt there, like it definitely feels like it's also a movie made for those who grew up like watching the show too. You know, kind of like I've also watched that one Dora movie by that one guy with the explosions. I forgot his name. the one who directed the Transformers movies, I think. Yeah, Michael Bay. And it also kind of felt like that too. Where like Dora, like she would like talk to the camera, and then like the family were like, "What? Who's there? Like, what? Who are you talking to?
We learned that Josh's audition is
Yeah,
at
now
3
I want to watch this movie. I'm like sold on it.
o'clock, and the whole movie is just him trying to find the audition before time runs out.
It's almost time for my audition. Oh my gosh. We don't have much time, Blue.
Could this be why Kevin kept asking people what time it was?
What time is it? What time? What time?
Josh also doesn't know where his audition is. All he knows is that it's in a theater somewhere.
Excuse me. Do you know the address to the theater? Which theater? I don't know which theater.
Maybe this is why Kevin went to a movie theater after he escaped, because he thought it was his Broadway audition. Now, in the Law & Order episode,
Interesting.
shortly after leaving the theater, Kevin gets arrested and then tragically dies in police custody. But that's not what happens in this movie. Josh goes to the theater and gets the part.
We want you to be the star of our Broadway show.
Yes, of course. Yes.
But instead of him leaving and dying like Kevin, we immediately cut to him performing the musical in a big climactic finale.
My dream is a reality.
Oh. In his mind, he got the good ending.
If this
I guess
movie
maybe.
really is Kevin's final escape, then what if this is what Kevin experiences as he dies?
Yeah. Because yeah, he tried to go for the theater, and then afterwards he got arrested. But he kind of like, I guess, tried to make light of the situation in his mind, where he got the part. The thing is, I feel like this is pretty strong, but like I feel like it might age badly if like they just continue the story. Like if they have like a new host. Like if this was really the finale, I can maybe agree with this. I just feel like it might age poorly if like they just continue with a new host or something. Then like yeah, this would not be like the final moments of like him, unaliving himself.
A massive final magical song where he's surrounded by all of the friends from his fantasy, the only people who ever really understood him. Even the old hosts show up for this final send-off for Kevin.
And thank you for making this a day and an adventure that I will never forget.
I'll never forget how you helped me find all those clues.
Oh no.
Thanks again for all your help.
No, really. Now it's over. So long.
Wait, is that really like did they actually end the show with him like that? I thought it was still going. Oh wow.
And that is sadly where Kevin Jeffries' story ends. Now, I know this final movie theory maybe doesn't have as much evidence as the rest of my theory, but
Yeah, maybe not as much evidence, but I think the quality is still there. Like I do think they're strong.
regardless, I like thinking that maybe Kevin found some peace in his
Yeah.
final moments. And yeah, I know that this movie came out 27 years after the Law & Order episode, so it's probably a stretch to say that they're still connected. Wait, is
Yeah.
that fucking B.D. Wong?
I'm the director of Rainbow Puppy's Broadway musical.
B.D. Wong from Law & Order
What?
SVU is the
At first, I was about to say like who, like I didn't even know who who that was. But is that really him?
fucking director of Josh's musical?
I'm not entirely
Oh
comfortable
my
labeling the suspect a
gosh.
serial killer.
We want you to be the star of our
Freaking
Broadway
freaking
show.
Alex, man.
Holy shit!
We just figured out Blue's Clues. We just figured out Blue's Clues. We just figured out Blue's Clues.
Because this is my job.
Yes.
This is actually my job. All right, that is my theory. Thank you so much for watching. Hope I didn't ruin Blue's Clues for you. Hey, thanks for a million
got me thinking
subscribers.
like a little
That's
bit
really
bit
cool.
different, I would
YouTube
say.
sent me this big golden rectangle.
I think the movie especially, him going to like the real world, because I thought that was like the only world, that one fantasy world, but no, there's also like a real world too. Like I thought when he said that Steve was going to college, like he went on a cartoon bus, not like a real life bus, and we see like Steve in the real world too. Like I don't know the plots of the movie. Like I don't know if like after college he just went to the real world.
So I
But
got
yeah,
that now.
congrats to
Also,
Alex here. He's got
Steve Burns is kind of
the play
active
button.
on the internet these days. So
Oh yeah, I
if
remember
by
that.
some chance you happen to see this Mr. Steve Blues Clues, I'm sure we would all love to hear your thoughts on this theory, even if that's just him calling me crazy. I'm fine. I'll take it. I got more fan theories
Heck
on the
yeah.
way. I'm doing a High School Musical one. Maybe a Breaking Bad one. Seemed like people were interested in
Ooh.
that. And I've got a bunch of other ideas. I'm working.
Yeah, so yeah, this one I'm especially looking forward to. I can already recognize the thumbnail. It's cars. I love cars. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one the most.
On too, so subscribe to catch.
I'm also curious about this too. I just I just never thought about theories for, the High School Musical shows or movies. I mean, I know they made a show afterwards, but I never watched that. I've only watched like the first 3 movies.
Those. Make sure you hit the bell icon, because sometimes YouTube just randomly decides not to tell people when I upload. Hello, is anyone watching this video? Did YouTube tell anyone I uploaded? I hope so. Speaking of which, I recently posted a compilation of all of the Don't Feed the Muse web series episodes into one long film, and it's got a bunch of brand new content in it, so
What?
check that.
Oh shoot, I gotta watch that. The thing is, I've already watched this. I don't remember if there was any new content. I don't think I've watched maybe a compilation of it. No, I think I watched them individually. I didn't realize there was like new content in it. Dang. Maybe I'll watch this as well, because like, I've watched him before, but individually, and I'm guessing he's doing the same thing with like that one like SpongeBob theory compilation where he has these new mini theories. I'm guessing this is like what he's doing with this as well. Yeah, I do want to watch this. The thing is, when it comes to his Don't Feed the Muse storyline, he also has like other channels that also associate with this, like the what was it, the Cynical Critic and stuff. Like I want to watch those too. Like in the whole like Song the Rat. I want to watch like all of those too. And the whole like what is it, like Happy Meat Farms. I know they have all of that. But I'm guessing with this series, you really don't need to watch them. At the very least, I want to watch the Cynical Critic and stuff to get like a refresher, because it's been a while, because he does like play a big part within like the Don't Feed the Muse thing.
Out
But yeah,
if you're
I might watch
interested.
that.
Thank you to all the patrons who support this channel. If you sign up to my Patreon, you can get access to videos early, behind the scenes content, and your name at the end of the video. Look at all these names. This could be you. That could be you. Now it's time for so long. Thanks for doing your part. I will see you next time.
All right. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Alex in this video. Yeah, so my thoughts on it, I thought it was pretty strong, man. Like, yeah, there were some that I wasn't like, convinced by, but like, Alex also acknowledged it too, like with the whole like BC standing for Blues Clues, and also with the clinic as well. But stuff like that, those were like, a few things that he admitted that they're not strong. But other than that, I feel like when you put all those together with like how consistent they are, like I feel like it's a strong connection between Blues Clues and Law and Order. Now, is that intentional? I mean, for me, after watching this video, I do feel stronger about it being intentional, but in the end, I don't think it is intentional. I think like what he added at the end with that one actor, like that was kind of crazy to see. So maybe it could be, because like with Steve, he's like trying to get like maybe names and faces from the real life and incorporating them into his fantasy world. So like he could do it like that with that one actor that he mentioned at the end there. But yeah, like I don't know if he even met the actor though, like that one character that he mentioned. If like Steve, or I guess Kevin, if he met him in the show. But yeah, guys, there you have it. That was like my reaction to this crazy connection between Blue's Clues and Law and Order. Yeah, why Blue's Clues is a fantasy inside of Law and Order. Theory by Alex Bale. And yeah, now I guess that's it for now. Yeah, next time I'll definitely, I do want to watch more of these, but right now I'm just taking things slow. I'm not sure when I'll be back in, full force when it comes to these reaction videos. But yeah, I'm just like, dipping my toes again a little bit to get the feel for it. But yeah, next time, we'll see what I watch. I would like to watch more of the theorizer videos, or maybe some other theory videos, or like yeah, like the game theory stuff or film theory. I want to watch those too, because that's also another good channel to watch. But yeah, guys, that was it for this video. Really great video. I definitely also recommend you guys to check out his channel if you haven't yet. He makes amazing theory videos, especially with the SpongeBob stuff. But yeah, I think that'll be it for now. That's game.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.